Listen, it's that time of the year again when we get our annual stalker movies. It's practically become tradition. J-Lo's done one, Idris did it twice, and this one plays it so close to the OG with a 2020 spin that it might as well have been called Fatal Entanglement. Let me explain. So this comes from the same guy who did Secret Obsession, man directed, wrote, produced, yet even though it's a feature on Netflix, they still hit my boy with the TV rating. That said, it is also Nia Long's first producing credit, and honestly, I think the best parts of the movie come from her.
And I honestly didn't think that the way the film would be marketed, that you would know who was the crazy one and who wasn't. But that's not how it worked out. So now the cat's out the bag. Now y'all just got to come and join me for the journey.
Yeah, that would have been a much better approach. So like the trailer, full spoilers ahead. The movie begins with an affair that ends up being fatal before cutting to Ellie and Marcus. She's a lawyer, he's an architect, but after a car accident, which Marcus is still recovering from, they decide to move from the city to the coast.
Well, the house is new, but the man is not.
On her last days at work, she gets reacquainted with David, who's been hired for his skills.
Actually, I'm a hacker.
And it turns out that they actually knew each other in college.
It's been a long time, huh?
It sure has. 20 years. You look like it's been 20 minutes.
Yeah, boy. And now she's in too deep. Now, I'm not one to say that married people can't meet up with their colleagues after work. Grabbing dinner or lunch is a bad thing. But when they see you as a snack, on top of that, she starts complaining about her perfect life. How even though her husband, who's always been there for her, was in a body cast for 6 months, she just
wanted to feel good.
So she closes the phone on her husband, and David busts into that bathroom like,
Are you lost, baby girl?
They get really close, but right at the end, Nia shorts him.
I'm emotional, I'm horny, and I don't want to hear about no goddamn peace.
After some time, Ellie gets a complete new look. She's changed her hair. She's got her own office now. She's back at it with Marcus, and David's really standing there, front row, witnessing it all. He hacks the club's footage in order to blackmail her. He's canoodling with her friend in order to visit, and using her own words against her.
One day you wake up and it feels like the person you've been sleeping next to for 20 years is a complete stranger.
You hate to see it. I'll say this about Omar, right? I've been so used to seeing him as a doctor that his stilted walk here creeped me out. Man was walking into the frame like Tether Lupita, and while I wish the cinematography, direction, writing, and editing were better, both of them at least kept me engaged enough in the story that I wasn't bored.
You actually believe the guy who sat with us at dinner and told us both that he was a hacker.
I love this line right here. It's just straight to the point. This has to be one of the ones that Nia brought in. Obviously, she can't take this to the authorities, so she takes authority. She becomes the stalker who somehow, even though her Samsung's upside down, hacks the hacker in 2 tries and learns the truth about his ex-wife. Pretty much, Deborah was the movie we saw at the beginning who got into an affair, so David found out and supplied the fatal part. Because he's a hacker, he was able to get away with it and start seeking help. That probably would have helped if these movie therapists weren't always so bogus.
Think slow. Give us some space.
David, do you remember when you first came to see me for your court-ordered anger management?
Why do you keep bringing that up?
Poor Stephen Bishop, who plays the husband, gets hit with all this info and, having played the stalker himself in the past, decides to keep his vows till death do them part. But man, I love this quote.
I don't understand how you can make a living talking to 12 people in a jury box that you don't even know. And you can't talk to me?
What was it like to kind of flip it and be a true, like a villain for once?
He wasn't a villain. He was dealing with some issues.
David then burns a homeless man in order to fake his own death, but Ellie knows that's not the last of him. In terms of the ending, it's pretty standard in terms of the final fight in the house that we always see. It doesn't do anything too special, but fills in the 2020 installment for the obsessed stalker genre. But at least they didn't leave us with that cringy cliffhanger for a sequel like most of these have been doing. Because my dude didn't hang. He completely fell off that cliff. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comments section. This is the first time producing and the first time doing a thriller for Nia, which, even though I may not love the project, it was interesting to see all of the behind the scenes in her interviews on how she sees all the difference she can make now being a producer. I always make a big deal when actors are able to go up the ranks and become producers for the projects that they're on. And obviously this one suffers a lot from its original screenplay, which was written for a completely different demographic. And it's just really generic, So even though you're bringing in talents, even though you're bringing in people to do rewrites, they should have rewritten the whole thing, right from scratch, which I think is very telling. There's so much more you can do with this type of story, because I don't think the genre itself is bad. Like, we've been getting so many of these movies that you practically have a history of tropes you can play with, so it's kind of sad that they don't. I do think the best changes and standout lines came from Nia. You know, she's the one who brought Omar on board. She got Estelle, who, doesn't survive long in this movie, but she even got a song in there. But it's wild to me, looking back, how many times I came across the headline or video or all these articles talking about Nia Long being difficult to work with. And now what she's saying all of a sudden makes sense?
Well, let's just avoid all of that. Have diversity in the hair and makeup trailer. Have diversity on set behind the camera. Let's make sure that the camera department is diverse. Let's make sure that the grip department is diverse. Let's make sure that the sound department is diverse. And guess what? If you can't find anybody of color to hire, then let's make sure that there is a program to train young African-American men and women who want to work on the production side.
I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section on this movie or any other ones. Hell, maybe even your own stories for Netflix to adapt so they can actually have something new. I have some of my own, but other than that, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
I'm gonna hold you to that.